Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Team Daddy Weekly Recap. I am your host, Shapiro the Hero, aka Daddy Dreidels. Week 3 has come and gone, and the injury bug reared its ugly head this week, knocking out some serious players and wreaking absolute havoc on the week's matchups. As always, I'll take you around the league looking at scores and standings right after this word from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Omnicare, the leading subsidiary of CVS Healthcare. Omnicare could have been your one-stop shop for all your healthcare needs, if not for the recent filing of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. At least the sponsorship check cleared. But the good news is, you can still go to CVS and get all of your prescriptions and flu shots. Omnicare. Nice knowing you. By now, I hope you've picked up on the theme of this year's weekly sponsors. In celebration of the league's hard reset in 2026, the entire 2025 Team Daddy season will be brought to you by companies that are either defunct or in the process of bankruptcy. Because why the fuck not? But anyway, let's get to this week's matchups. We'll kick things off with the other sibling rivalry in our league, Swans vs. Kyle. It was another strong showing for the elder Swans this week, as he took care of younger brother Kyle, 172.05 to 141.8. Surprisingly, it was the Vikings D leading the scoring for Swans with 35 points. Swans did also get 30.15 points from Josh Allen, but may have hit a long-term blow as CD Lamb suffered a high ankle sprain and could miss some significant time. For Kyle, it was Jonathan Taylor leading the way with 43.3 points and earning him $10 along the way as the week's highest scoring player. But despite the cash, Kyle drops his second game in a row and falls to 1-2 on the year. He will look to get back to 500 next week when he takes on Jed. Meanwhile, Swans bounces back with a nice win and improves to 2-1. He will try for his third win in 4 weeks as he faces off against PJ. Speaking of PJ, it's been a rough few days for our beloved commissioner. In addition to the Mets stinking it up over at Citi Field this past weekend, PJ's fantasy team also stunk up the joint as he loses to Brett 148.35 to 113.55. Omarion Hampton led the way for Brett's team with 26.9 points, and Brett also got 25.9 points from Garrett Wilson. On the other sideline, PJ was led by Dak Prescott with 16.55 points, but takes his third loss in a row, remaining winless on the season. PJ will once again try for win number 1 next week when he takes on Swans. Meanwhile, Brett finally gets his first win of the season, and I guarantee we won't hear the end of it, as he improves to 1-2. He will try to get his win streak going next week as he takes on Mike. As for my team, the holidays are starting off on a low point this year, as I fell to Jed 172.2 to 131.35. For the second week in a row, I faced off against the team who scored the most points, as Jed earned himself $20 and the right to pick this week's music. Lamar Jackson led the scoring in our matchup with 34.9 points, and Jed also got 31.1 points from Jordan Mason. For my team, it was Baker Mayfield and Devontae Smith as the co-leaders, each scoring 21 points. However, it was not enough to get the victory, as I lose on Rosh Hashanah for what might be the first time in my history with Team Daddy. At 1-2, I have a long way to go to get a shot at the title, and I'll start my road to redemption in the Week 4 showdown against Brett. Meanwhile, after losing Week 1, Jed is now 2-1 after back-to-back wins, and will try for his third win in a row next week when he takes on George. Speaking of George, he pulled out a win this week, defeating Armenti 120.9 to 99.7. It was not a pretty win for George by any means, as only Nico Collins broke 20 points, leading all scorers in the matchup with 32.4, but it was enough to earn a W. For Armenti, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown leading the way with 22.7 points, but it was a rough go for Armenti as he put up the lowest point total in the league this week. Now at 1-2, Armenti will try to get back above 500 in Week 4 as he takes on Big John. Meanwhile, George is now 2-1 after back-to-back wins and looking more like the championship team from last year. He will try for his third win in a row next week when he faces off against Josh. Turning now to Josh's matchup against Steve, it was another tough L for Daddy Riotica as Steve comes away with a 148.8 to 139.6 Week 3 victory. Jalen Hurts led all scorers with 37.3 points, and Steve also got 19.5 points from Kenneth Walker. For Josh, it was James Cook leading the way with 28.3 points, but unfortunately Josh loses a tough one, falling by the smallest margin of defeat across Team Daddy in Week 3. At 0-3, Josh had better figure it out fast, or it could mean back-to-back years of Riotica punishment. Josh will try to break out of his winless slump in a Week 4 showdown against George. Meanwhile, Steve is now 3-0 and looking like he is on cruise control. He'll try to stay unbeaten next week as he takes on Zach in a battle of the blue. Our final matchup of the week actually saw Zach taking on Big John in an early battle of the unbeatens. However, as the movie Highlander says, there can be only one. And here it was Zach coming away with the dub, 149.5 to 114.3. Jameer Gibbs led the way for Zach with 28.4 points, and Zach also got 25.9 points from Drake May. However, Zach missed out on $10 by leaving Caleb Williams on the bench, but he still got the win, his 15th in the last 17 games going back to last season. On the other sideline, Big John was led by Puka Nacua for the third week in a row, this time getting 31.3 points from the Rams star wideout. However, Big John not only lost this week, but also lost James Conner for the year with a right ankle injury. Big John will also be without Mike Evans for the next 3 to 4 weeks, as he deals with a hamstring strain. Now at 2-1, Big John will try to get back on track next week when he faces off against Armenti. As for Zach, he will try to keep his win streak going in Week 4 as he takes on Steve in another battle of the unbeatens. Here are the Team Daddy standings as of Week 3. Zach and Steve sit atop the table at 3-0, separated by just over 40 points. Up next are Swans, Jed, Big John, and George, all at 2-1. From there we have Kyle, Armenti, myself, and Brett at 1 and 2. And finally, it's Josh and PJ in the basement, still looking for their first wins of the season. As Rosh Hashanah comes to a close today, I want to wish all who celebrate a Happy New Year. And if the Jewish high holidays don't mean a thing to you, then I hope you have a good rest of your day anyway. Remember to set your lineups and check the waiver wire, especially as these injuries keep piling up. Thank you as always for watching. This has been your Team Daddy Weekly Recap. I am your host, Shapiro the Hero, and I will see you next time. L'chaim, motherfuckers!